Hi and welcome to this section of this video. So in this video I'm going to show you how to deploy this website to Heroku. So the first thing we want to do is actually make this icon work, and this this home nav item work, and this logo work. So what we need to do is go to the nav.html file. Now I want you to take note of something, that in the urls.py file, the name that we gave the home page is home. So what we now need to do is go to the nav bar and then replace this entire link with the link of the home page. So I'm going to put a URL and I'm going to say home. So we need to do the same thing for the home page here. So I'm going to put in here URL and I'm going to pass in home. So once we save that and go back to the code, anytime we go to like a different page now, and we now click either the icon on the home page, you can see it brings us to the home page. So I am not going to talk about the all post category and about us page. Now I want to challenge you to build upon all what we have talked about, and then you can see, as I showed you in the first video, what my website looks like, my own original blog website looks like. I took this template and I built upon it and added a whole lot more stuff. So I challenge you to add more stuff to it. Now to the main focus on this video is how to deploy this blog website to Heroku. So I had already prepared a whole list of things that we need to use. Let me zoom in. Things that we need, or a list of steps that we need to follow to deploy our projects to Heroku. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to install some libraries. So we need to install Django, we need to install Gunicorn and Django Heroku. So I want you to go to your terminal and then break out of your terminal and run the command pip install Gunicorn. And then once you run that, it's going to install Gunicorn for you. And then the next library we are going to need to install is Django Heroku. So the next thing I'm going to say is pip install Django _Heroku. Now once we run that command, that is going to install Django Heroku for us. So let me just clear out the terminal. The next thing we now need to do, according to the list, is we need to create a file named runtime.txt, and we need to create this file in the root directory. The root directory is where we have the manage.py. So what we now simply need to do is we need to create a file named runtime.txt, and inside this file we need to write what Python version we use for this project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in the terminal right here, I'm going to write a command that creates a new file. So I'm going to say echo runtime.txt. So once I run that and I check my files, you can see there's a new file named runtime.txt. Now how do we now get what Python version we're using? The command we need to run is python -version. Now once you run that, let me see, it's giving us an error. Let's look for the proper command. So we need to say python space --version. So what I'm going to say is python space --version. Now once we run that, you can see that's giving us the correct Python version that we're using. So we're just going to copy this and then go to the runtime.txt file. Now inside the runtime.txt file, I'm just going to say python -the version. So I want you to save that and close it. Now let's go back to the steps that I created. The next step we need to do is we need to create a file known as Procfile. So I am going to copy this. Now note that this file has no extension, it's just called Procfile. So once you do that, go to your command line and or your code editor and create the file named Procfile. Now note that this file has to be created in your root directory. Your root directory is where you have the manage.py file. So I'm going to say echo. Echo is just a short way to create a file, and then I'm going to paste this. So once I run the command, you are going to see a file has been created named Procfile, and you can see Visual Studio Code recognizes the file, and the icon is there. So the next thing we need to do is we need to paste some code in there. So I am going to leave a link to this file where you can see Heroku's deployment method. So I'm going to copy this line of code right here. So I want you to type exactly what I'm typing. And when I copy it, I'm going to come back to the Procfile and paste it in there. Now I want you to note that we need to replace this project's name with the name of a project. If I check my own project, we can see that I named the project blog PRG. So I'm going to replace project's name with blog PRG. So once you do that, just save it and you can close the file. Now the next thing that we need to do according to our list is we need to create a requirements.txt file. Now basically why we're creating a requirements.txt file is because we want to let Heroku know the amount of libraries that we have used and the requirements that it needs to install in order for our projects to run smoothly. So what we're going to say is we're going to go to the command line, and then we're going to run the command pip freeze angle brackets requirements.txt. So this is going to create a file that contains all the requirements. So when I paste this and run it to my command line, you are going to see that a new file named requirements.txt has been created in my root directory. Now note that this file has to be created in your root directory. So run this command where you have your manage.py file. Now you are going to take notes of all the libraries that we have used. So you can just go ahead and close that. Now the next step that we need to follow is we need to go to the settings.py file and configure some things. So at the top, we need to import these 3 libraries. So let's copy that, go to our settings.py file in the project folder, and then scroll to the top. So at the very top, I need you to paste those imports right here. So I'm going to import Django Heroku and import DG database URL and OS just like that. Now the next step we need to take is we need to we can skip configuring the static files because we do not have any static folder. If we go to this folder, you can see we do not have any static folder because all the CSS that we need is already inside each individual blog post, or rather all the CSS we need is linked to a CDN. So we're loading our CSS and JavaScript from a CDN, so we can skip this configuring of static file stage. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to add this line of code at the bottom of our settings.py file. So just copy it and scroll to the bottom of your settings.py file, and then once you are at the bottom, I want you to paste this line of code there. So just paste it and save it. So after doing that, the next thing we now need to do is if you are not familiar with Git, I would encourage that you check out other tutorials that explain what Git does, what Git and GitHub really does. So what I'm going to need you to do is download Git if you don't already have it, and then create a GitHub account. So after doing that, after downloading Git and creating a GitHub account, the next thing we need to do is create a Heroku account. Now I want you to head over to heroku.com. So I want you to go to Heroku, and once you're in Heroku, I want you to visit heroku.com. So once you've entered heroku.com, I want you to create an account. Now after you've created an account, you are going to be brought to a dashboard that looks something like this. Now I have different apps because I have been working with Heroku for a while now. So after creating a Heroku account, the next step is we need to create a new app. So I would like you to go to your Heroku dashboard and go to new. Now once you're on new, click create new app. So here, apps that are created in Heroku basically house different projects. So what we need to do now is give this our app a name. So what we can name it is blog app DJ. So it's going to load and check if that name is available. As you can see, it's loading to check if it is available. So we can see blog app DJ is available. So what we now need to do is hit creator, but if it isn't available, it simply means that somebody somewhere in the world has used this name. So you can just keep trying until you get something that isn't taken. So just leave this region like that and hit create app. Now once you have created an application, I am going to need you to push your entire code to Heroku. That is everything in, sorry, I'm going to need to push it to GitHub. So everything in here we are going to push to GitHub and create a repository right now. So I'm going to head over to github.com, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to create a new repository. So I'm going to come over to this plus icon and hit new repository. So I am going to now scroll down, and where I have repository name, I'll name it blog app, and then it's going to check repository is already taken. Let me name it blog, and you can see blog is available. So you can choose to make it either public or private, but I'm going to make it public. And then you can now click create repository. So once you've created this repository, the next thing that we need to do is we need to go to where we have our projects folder. So I am going to navigate to where I have my projects folder. So permit me to navigate. So I am currently in my root directory. If I increase it, let me try to increase the icons. So I am currently in my root directory where we have the manage.py file. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to git bash share and follow all these instructions that have been given to us. Now what we now need to do is right click, and then once it has popped up, hit git bash share. Now for this to work, you need to have git installed and configured. I need to have a GitHub account. So this might not work if you haven't connected Git to your GitHub account, so I would encourage you to check out other tutorials that will teach you how to do so. So what we now need to do is we need to initialize Git. So we need to say git init, git init. Now once we run that command, you can see it has been initialized. Now we now need to add every single thing in our project. So do that by saying git add space dot. Now after running git add space dot, we now need to commit. So I'm going to copy this line of code to make our first commit. So I'm going to paste it in there and press enter. So after committing, you can see it's created modes for all these different files. Now the next thing is we need to create a branch. So we're now I'm going to copy that and paste it. Now after doing that, I'm now going to copy this next line, copy it, come to Git and paste it in there and press enter. Now we're now going to run the final command, git push -u origin main. So when I copy that, come back to my project and paste it, and then we run that command, you are going to see it's going to push all these changes to GitHub. So I'm going to pause here and wait for these changes to be pushed. So now that it says it has pushed, when I come and refresh the page of my browser, you can see that all these things have been pushed to GitHub, and we can see all our code has been pushed to GitHub. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to now connect. We need to now go back to our application that we just created on Heroku, and we need to go to resources. Now what we are essentially doing here is that we now want to get the Postgres database and connect a Postgres database to our Django project. Now to get a Postgres database, I will need you to come here to add-on and search for Postgres. So click Heroku Postgres. Now once Heroku Postgres has loaded, so once it has loaded, you can just come and select what plan you want, but for me, I'm picking the hobby dev, which is free, and I'm hitting submit order form. So that is now going to create a Heroku Postgres database and attach it to this new app that we created. So what we now need to do is we now need to click this Heroku Postgres database so that we can view the credentials. Now I want you to head back to, while this is loading, I want you to head back to your settings.py file. And when we scroll to the bottom, of this project, you are going to notice something like databases. So what this does is, this is just telling Django to where to look for the default SQLite database that it provides us. But now we are going to comment this out because we are going to be using a new database, the Postgresql database. So I had pasted this earlier, and I would like for you to copy this. Now let's go back and check the web browser to see if it has loaded. So when it has loaded, you'll be able to see that it has 0 rows, and this current size is currently 8.5 MB, and it has 0 database tables. So what we now need to do is we need to go to the settings, and then we need to view credentials. So basically what this means is that these are the credentials that we are going to use to connect our Django projects right here to this Postgresql database. So what we first need to do is copy this host. Now when you've copied it, I want you to go back to your code and paste it right here. And then the next thing that we're going to copy is the database. So when you copy that, come back to your code and paste it in where you have name. And then the next thing we need to copy is user. So copy that, and for the user we're going to paste it here. And then for the password, let's copy this and just Ctrl+C. And then when we do that, just come over here and paste the password in. So that should be all we need to do. Now the next thing we need to do is make migrations and migrate, because we just connected to a new database. So what I want you to do is go to your command line and run the command python manage.py make migrations, and then this should make migrations for us and create all these database tables. So I'm just going to wait for this, and then the next thing is going to say, we need to say is python manage.py migrate. Now once we run this command, you are going to see it making migrations to the database on Heroku. So you can see it is making the content type. So I'm just going to pause here and wait for it. So right now it has made all these migrations and it has migrated all these changes to the database. And when we check the browser, if we go to overview, you can see that we now have 14 tables from 0, and the size has increased and the amount of rows has increased. So now the next thing we now need to do is now actually deploy this project to Heroku. So what we need to do is go over to deploy, right? And then when we're in deploy, I need you to go to GitHub. So what you need to do here is, before you can deploy through GitHub, you have to make sure you connect Heroku to GitHub. So just make sure you connect it. Mine is already connected, as you can see here, Digi12. So now what you now need to do is go to your repository and make sure you look for the name on this repository. Name of the repository is blog, because this is repo I want to deploy. So what we're now going to do is go back to Heroku and search for that particular repository. So once I hit search, you are going to see it brings out 3 repositories. So just click the one that you want to deploy. So we are going to connect the blog, and after we have hit connect, we now need to deploy this branch. So let's deploy branch, and then when we hit deploy branch, this is just going to start deploying our Heroku project to our project to Heroku. So you can see it's installing SQLite, it's installing all the requirements that is needed, and you can see it's building the wheel. So this is usually the moment of truth when trying to deploy a Heroku project. Now if you want all the code for this project, you can get it in the link in the description to my this thing. So we can see it is compressing, and then it is saying it said done. So we can see it said launching version 5. So what we can do now is, so it said your app was successfully deployed. So we now need to view to see if it's actually deployed successfully. So you can see we have successfully deployed this particular blog app, and presently we don't have any blog post, but you can decide to go to the admin dashboard and create a blog post. Now you can see everything works perfectly. I have taught you how to create a full stack blog website, and you have learned how to make all this work. Now if you want to be able to visit the admin dashboard, what you can do is go back to the app, go to terminal, more, and then I want you to hit run console. Now in here you can run whatever commands you want. Like, since we want to create a super user to visit the admin dashboard, we run the command python manage.py create super user. So once I run that, this is going to start the whole process for me to create a super user. So it says attaching to Dino, and the first thing it asks is for username. I'm going to say admin, and then email. I'm going to skip that. Password, I'll type in the admin password again, type it in, and then I'm going to say yes, and then it says super user created successfully. So this is how to create a super user on Heroku. So what we can now do is we can now go to /admin. Now once we are here, what you can simply do is log in with the credentials that we created here. So we can put in admin here and put in the password. Now once we hit login, you'll see that we have access to the admin dashboard, and we can see everything from here. So thank you for watching this tutorial, guys. If this tutorial was helpful, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, come back for more. I hope you learned a lot, and I will see you in my next tutorial. Thank you for watching.